Hello and welcome to the Retail Journey. I'm your host, James Harris. Today we're sticking with a slightly different format, a mashup episode focused on a single vital question. What's the difference between a good brand at Walmart and a great brand at Walmart? Because we tend to see two types of brands. The innovation, of course, but also the 4 Ps of product, pricing, placement, and promotion are what gets a product in. But fast forward 4 years. One brand is usually still there running a massive program, and the other one is gone. Let's talk about the difference. A great brand understands that the customer is constantly changing. To kick things off, Walmart Vice President of Adult Beverage, Katie Smith, and Erin Wall from Lunar Capital discuss how new consumer habits, like the rise of GLP-1s, are completely rewriting the rules of the shelf.
Yeah, good. I think the customer's all over the place on beverage, which is a really fun... It's a fun place to be in, how they're thinking about it. I got a new boss a few months ago, and I told her, I was like, hey, I want you to have this thought process around how customers are participating in all of our spaces. Like they may be going to the gym Monday at lunch and having a protein shake. And then when they leave at night, they're having, a modern soda or something from Brian's department, and maybe a traditional CSD soda the next day. And then that night they have a glass of wine, and it's all over. So the customer's participation is broad, and they want a different item for all these different occasions and events. And it's this really unique moment in time, because we used to talk about in food a lot of day parts and the way customers are shopping all across food differently. And we're starting to see that in beverage now, which is a little different than what we've historically seen for the customer. They love flavor. They love innovation. So it's a fun place for us to play and start thinking about how we participate with the customer in a different way.
I am seeing this huge uptick in beverage outreach, right? And I'm all of a sudden like the percent of number of people I'm talking to in beverage. And so, first you think, well, maybe it's just like the poppy and the modern soda phenomenon. More people are trying to enter this space. They've raised the price, fine. But then I have this question, and it might be a little bit of a theory. I need to research more. But I've been wondering if GLP-1 users are going to start consuming more of their caloric intake in the form of a beverage than hard foods, right? So as a percent of our shelf space and mind share, we're going to be thinking about that, and think about what that might do to the price point in beverage. Because if you're having it for a meal and now you're okay with like calories and fat and protein, you're willing to spend like $6 on this beverage that we've never seen before, unless you were buying like a super craft beer at a brewery. And so I think the evolution of beverage, and then that even brings up another point in beverage of like the alcohol shift. So if people are really moving away and still going to spend the money, and I see this at home where it's like, you still want a treat, so then you're willing to spend more. So it's just going to be really interesting to see. And I've seen, I've seen fiber. I've seen a focus on, obviously, any kind of like brain health function. You're thinking, how would you name it, like could go in there. Yeah, mushrooms, adaptogens, you name it there. And so you think like gut health, brain health can be in a beverage. And then you think, well, are we going to like stop like taking vitamins? We're just going to have it in a beverage. So yeah, I just think that category is really interesting right now. And I would guess that we haven't seen a category like this where price point like went up, like you know what I mean? I bet you if you looked at like that impact of Ollie and Poppy on the total category in a long time. I think maybe a few other categories that I think might be ripe for this is like cereal. I think we could see another redo on that. Like, are we really buying all those crummy cereals for our kids?
3 grams of sugar for your kid to start the day.
We're already seeing like, yeah, you're willing to spend more to give your kid a healthier option. But yeah, I think this could be really interesting.
We have people that are dairy free. We have people that, whether it's connected to Crohn's or a sensitivity or not. We have GLP-1 users needing to get enough protein and vitamins, et cetera. Tons of other examples we can go into. It's interesting that it's kind of need state driven. That's at the same time that now we have clear, almost tasteless protein, right?
Oh, we just saw clear water. It tastes like water.
Right.
protein-wise.
Exactly. So
Okay.
it's really a convergence of changing dietary habits along with a lot of really cool technology that's enabling it to not taste bad at the same time.
Yeah, I think the other interesting one is I saw some futurists talk about how they're not going to have like the young 20 somethings, like many fewer of them go to the doctor. They're honestly testing way more like herbal supplements and teas and other forms of practitioners like acupuncture. Like think of all the things that they're doing that are just different than the way we used to. Well, that's going to change, I think, our entire ecosystem. We're seeing too, we're already seeing it around medicine, but I think that's going to be doubled down. It'll be really interesting to see the places where, like we saw one recently, it was like a healthier Zen, basically, but it could provide you vitamins, could be something you stick in your mouth and it just gives you calm, or you think of like the form factors for how we're going to
Those
be
products exist right now, and I think they're on the ascendancy, right? They're as they get, and really you're going to see a lot of people as they're, oh, I'm using too much nicotine. Oh, there's an alternative here. I think you're right. I think we will see those grow because the usage, the penetration of Zen right now is enormous. Great brands anticipate those form factors and shifting habits, but spotting the trend is only half the battle. If you want to survive the realities of retail at scale, you have to execute. I sat down with High Impact's Chief Operating Officer, Matt Adams, to discuss the core takeaways for brands calling on Walmart and Sam's Club, and why process-driven flexibility and honest communication are the ultimate trust builders.
We've talked about communication. I think there's also the need for I would call it process-driven flexibility. Mm-hmm. So are we building in enough flexibility into our day-to-day processes, our day-to-day procedures, that we are able to flex when we need to?
Yeah.
You never know what's coming around the bend, and it's really easy to get really rigid in the thing that we're supposed to go do. And most frequently, the great suppliers are those that have the ability to pivot and flex.
I love that.
When they need to. They've built in flexibility into their processes. Yeah. They've built in the ability to adjust when they need to, and they aren't stuck in, well, this is how we do it. Process is necessary. Procedures are necessary. You have to have those things. Documenting them is necessary. But flexibility, build that flexibility into those things, because you don't ever know quite what's around that corner.
Yeah. There's no shame in communicating your limitations.
For sure.
Yeah. I go back to an example of when I was a very, very young person working at Walmart, and it was purchase order time for new mod sets. It was large, bulky domestic products. I put together 35 truckloads worth of orders for this one company, West Point Stevens, shout out. And I got a phone call back, and he goes, do you know how many doors I have to load trucks? It was 3. All right. I can't do 35 on the same ship date. Yeah. So the communication, it was an easy thing to fix, but also knowing it ahead of time probably would have had a lot less stress on them. But that's the point. Communicating a limitation is not a weakness. It's often the first sign.
It's again building trust. We're all the way back to that, because operationally you failed because you committed to something that you actually can't do.
You have to build that operational trust. But looking toward the future, the definition of a great brand is expanding into the digital space. It's no longer just about supply chain. It's about digital discoverability and preparing for agentic commerce. Here is Eric Howerton of AdFury explaining why content is the fuel for the new generative engine optimization space.
Yeah, that's right. And so what that requires right there, that's a good discussion, because that requires each brand to really provide even more content. Everything comes back to content.
Yep. Mm.
More content. And the beautiful thing about the GEO space versus SEO that I've kind of seen in this business for so long, GEO is able to read images in context. Yeah. Same thing for video. SEO never did that. It would just read metadata and stuff like that of whatever you put in it, which never really happened. But it can contextually understand that if you do have a picture of somebody bored and happy now because, or whatever, it can actually understand that as maybe a way to serve this back up to you. And so the magnitude at which a brand should supply the ecosystem with more content that's explaining all the use cases, all the value propositions, all those lifestyle type scenarios is the key in GEO. And then at that point, when you get to the agentic part, like if a customer will trust their agent to go out and actually transact, build the cart, and then just start showing up on your doorstep. So the shopper no longer has to go through the actual transactional journey. That's the agentic commerce part. Yeah. And that's an area that legitimately has not been solved yet. It's on its process to be solved. And we see that through Sparky. We see that through Rufus and through ChatGPT's attempts.
And Walmart pulling out of the ChatGPT in-app. About a month or so ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of these things that I think are optimistic as to where we will be soon. But that world hasn't been completely solved yet. There's a pretty big race for that.
So at this point, would you say the apps are driving traffic more than completing the process the way you're describing?
For sure.
Because there's a meaningful amount of traffic being driven.
There is. Yeah, I think that, the big watch out today is, and the reality is that GEO is absolutely 100% happening. It's grabbing more land share. And that's even happening within Google Gemini or AI mode. And so those experiences are currently undergoing. And what brands need to recognize right now is that you can supply that discoverability by giving it more content. And here's what's beautiful: as agentic gets in to the space more and becomes more adopted, that same supply from the brand can apply in the agentic space as well.
From understanding deep consumer retail trends to building process-driven flexibility into your supply chain to feeding the new AI algorithms with rich content, the gap between good and great is wider than ever, but the roadmap is clear. Thank you to Katie, Erin, Matt, and Eric for sharing your expertise today. And thank you for tuning in. As always, you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and additionally on our website at theretailjourneypodcast.com. I'm James Harris, and I'll see you on the next Retail Journey.